All right, so when we think about domain, I know I talked about like creating the cross and everything, but really what you're trying to do is you're trying to find the leftmost x value all the way over to the rightmost x value that has a corresponding y value. So when you create the cross, your x-axis is one piece of the cross, and then your other piece of the cross is going to be drawing vertical lines. And we always start at negative infinity, and we ask ourselves, do we hit our graph? So if I'm starting at negative infinity, obviously I don't hit my graph, and I keep marching along the x-axis until I hit my graph. So hopefully, like if you read this graph from left to right, the leftmost value is happening right here at this leftmost value, this little point right here. Now, because we're talking first about the domain here, we want to find the corresponding x value to that leftmost point, and that is 2. So what we would say for this particular graph is we would say that our domain is going to start at 2. Because there is not an open circle, we want to include that number, and so we will put a square bracket. Because 2 is part of the domain, we actually do hit that value. Now, if you think about the rightmost x value, so if you're marching along the x-axis here, you're going to continue to hit your graph, hit your graph, hit your graph, hit your graph. The rightmost x value is positive infinity. And as I go out to positive infinity, I am going to hit my graph because the graph continues on towards infinity. So our domain is going to go to infinity. Now, when we ask the question about the range, what we want to do is we want to think about the lowest, the smallest y value that we have. And the smallest y value that we have is way down here at negative infinity. So again, now we're looking at the y-axis, and we're asking ourselves, if we go left and right, are we going to hit the graph? So at negative infinity, are we going to hit the graph? Well, the way it's drawn here, it doesn't really look like we are going to hit the graph. However, because this arrow continues down, down, down forever, we will eventually hit the graph. And again, you don't really know exactly what it looks like, but it continues down forever, and eventually you are going to hit that graph. So at negative infinity, we would have a number included in our range. Now, as we march along the y-axis, we continue to hit the graph, hit the graph, hit the graph, hit the graph, hit the graph. And again, because this graph continues up, 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 and away, at positive infinity, we will still be hitting the graph. And so that means that our range is going to be from negative infinity to infinity.